Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
To set up the game is easy. You're going to shuffle up the game's deck. And then based on the number of players, you're going to put a number of these arcade machines out. And I just kind of want to show you how some of this works and how a turn of the game will work. But based on the number of players, you have a number of these set up. In addition, everybody's going to get a player, and you'll be able to put these out at the start of the game. So you're going to have one cube in each of these, so no matter if you play one of these or not, you're going to be able to get started. And then you have two additional ones that you can put into the genres, and you're kind of, look, there's, well, that's happened to be one of each, so that's not really that helpful, so you put those out. Everybody's going to start with 10 quarters. That'll be the length of the game. And you'll start out with 3 power cards. Now, these cards will have some things to do. So sometimes they'll have a power. Anytime you can just take it from an opponent. Reroll any dice that you have. They're not all take that. This one gives you an extra scoring dice if you're playing a sci-fi game, etc. They also have keys on them. So if you ever roll a key on the white die, you can play this down and it will give you whatever points. Sometimes it's 300, 100, 200, etc. So it's just a little bit of extra scoring, or you can play it for the power that's on the bottom on your turn. On your turn, you're going to take your player and put him on an arcade. On subsequent turns, you have to move to an arcade. You have to go to a different one you play. You can't play the same arcade twice. And if somebody's already at an arcade, I also cannot go to the arcade because they're playing it. How can I just take them off of the arcade? So let's say I wanted to go to the silver ones. I take a coin, one of my quarters, and I place it there, simulating that I am playing this. If you ever have 3 on a game, then the game would come out, and a new game will replace it. If anybody ever gets the high score on a game, it will also be replaced, and another new one will come off the top of the deck. So let's go back to my initial example. I go here, I put my quarter on it, and I'm ready to play. I will look at the icons. Joystick, I get 1 black dice. With the 2-button masher, I'm going to get an additional black die. And if it's sci-fi, I'm going to get an extra die here. Let's say the game had progressed and I had 2 cubes on sci-fi. I would get an additional die, black die for that. Let's say I had this card, Bodacious Boost. It gives me an extra die. I could play this down. And it gives me extra die if I go to a sci-fi one. So now I'm rolling even more dice. And I always roll the white dice with my dice. So that's kind of how you can get more and more dice, etc. Then I'm going to roll my dice, and I'm going to add up. So 100, 300, 500, 700, 1,000, 1,100. So you go to what you would have here, 369. I didn't quite get the high score, so I'm going to get 4 tickets for my trouble. So I would add 4 tickets. Which is what I scored on this game, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that would go to my score, and then the next player would take their turn. Let's say I rolled 1,100 and I was able to get the top score. Well, in this case, I would get 1 of the prize tokens, and I would get 3 tickets instead. So they're never cumulative. I don't get 1 plus 2 plus 4. I get whatever I land on. It could be high or it could be low. The ones that work a little bit different are the gold ones. The way this one works is, once again, I would get my dice. I always get the white one. Driving gives me an additional die. The 2-button gives me a die. And the mushroom, I only have 1 cube there, so I would get an additional die. And I would roll these dice, and I'm only playing for level 1. So now I'm trying to get at least 300. So this gives me minus 200, so my 200 will be blocked out. Gives me 400, so I got at least 300, which means I will go on to level 2. Same amount of dice. I roll it. Minus 100, so that would block out. I would need at least 500. I only got 400, so then I would score down only 1 ticket. But let's say I scored at least 500, I would continue to roll the 3rd level. In this case, I got a key, so let's say I had a card like this. I could play this card down because it has a key on it, and that'd give me 300, 500, 600, 700. I got just enough to get to 3 tickets. Now, on these, I can only get the high score if I'm on level 3. If I'm not on level 3, I cannot score that. So that's how the key is going to work. If you ever get the heart allows you to roll an additional black die. I can add it to my score. Look, I got 0. And if I want to, I can re-roll this die. Now, the reason why you might want to re-roll it is there's some that give you points, but keep in mind there's also some that take away points. So it's kind of a risk to re-roll the white one. I could roll hearts 3 times in a row, adding more and more dice, if I am so lucky. There are also cards here that have a red circles on it. That means it's versus mode. If I go here and I was going to activate this card, someone could play a ticket, give it to me, and then they could also move to this location, and now we'll play against each other, kind of like a fighting game or whatever. We'll roll the dice. Each of us will score whatever tickets we get, but whoever has the highest score will score 2 additional tickets. The other kind of game is these ones, yellows. These are cooperative. So if I were to move somewhere, pay my quarter to play cooperative, I could spend a ticket and give it to another player, and I could use their stats for that location, adding even more dice to what I have. And that's how the cooperative games are going to work. After all the players have gone, we then can spend our tickets. If I want to move up any of these 4 skills that are first, it requires 3 tickets. If I want to upgrade one of these, I have 2 tickets. I could spend those 2 tickets, and I can gain another cube, upgrading my character in any one of these locations. Say I wanted to get better at adventure games with the sword. Or if I have 5 tickets, I could just cash these in at the store, and I would be able to get an additional prize token, which will help me win. After everybody is out of quarters and spent all their money, you add up whoever has the most prize tokens is the winner. If there is a tie, then it's how many tickets are left over. That's how you play Joystick Heroes. I should also mention there's these superpower cards, and this is an optional thing you can play with. You give one to somebody at the beginning of the game. This gives them a variable power throughout the game. When you play premium scores required to pass levels are reduced by 100. When you play any game with a one-word title, add 100 to your score. Start the game with an extra token and play 2 games on your first turn. Add 100 to your game or level scores when you play a game that lets you driving plus shooting. So these are just give you a little bit of direction as you're going through the game, etc. There are also an option to play with these boardwalk games, and you're going to add one of these to your arcade if you decide to include those. If they're played once, then you discard it from the game. Each one's going to play a little bit differently. So this will give you 3 dice per shot, and you're going to get 3 shots. For every 300 you roll, when your total equals 300, you're going to get one of the goodies at the bottom here. Roll 1 die 3 times, and if you predict its outcome, you get the goods at the bottom. Roll 3 dice, 3 of a kind wins. Roll any dice 2 or more times. So you can see if you roll like hundreds, 200, 300s, etc. Each of these are going to have different games, and you can just add one. Once it's played, it's replaced by another one.